Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome along to the wilds of Suffolk. I'm out here yet again doing what I do, walking along in beautiful locations, and today is gorgeous. I'm giving you my thoughts and opinions on things that are happening in the world, in the public consciousness. If it's your first time here, welcome. I hope you enjoy what I'm doing today. If you're a returning subscriber, in fact, I don't even know how many subscribers I have on here today because I've been so busy that I haven't even looked. But welcome, one and all. I hope you enjoy what I'm doing today. Welcome along for the walk. So today I'm entitling this video, The Problem with Polite Society. Now, there's been a number of issues that have come up recently that I've wanted to comment on and to do a video about, but this last weekend has finally put the cherry on the top of this topic. And I thought today is my only evening off, so I'm taking advantage of the fact that I don't have to work tonight. I've been working all day, just did like an 11-hour shift, but wanted to get out here and discuss this, put it out into the world and get your thoughts and opinions on this because strange things are afoot, and the way people are responding to it is even stranger. So let's get on with the video. Enough of the rambling about odds and ends. Now, the problem with polite society, there's many problems, many problems, but I'll start with a brief explanation of where I was at the weekend, what I was doing, for those of you who noticed where I was and what I was up to. I went to the Gay Pride Party in Norwich, which is not far from where I live in Suffolk. Norwich is Norfolk, next area up from mine, about an hour away, and went up to the Gay Pride Party up there. Now, it's for those of you wondering, it's not the first Gay Pride Party I've been to. Went to many in London, got a lot of gay friends, been to many gay bars, not gay myself, but lots of friends who are gay, trans, bi, like, you name it, broad spectrum, right? And there's a reason why I went. I was asked to go. The people who asked me to go were a bit nervous. They'd never been to a Pride party before, Pride event. And they were a bit nervous because I had been to many before. They felt a bit more comfortable going with someone who had been before. So that's a brief explanation of as to where I was and why I was. But it sort of plays into the video I'm doing today, okay? Now, for those of you who've been on this journey with me, going for a walk through the forest and talking about these subjects and questioning the reality that we are presented with on a daily basis, one would think, and it's been said to me before, of course, that people think that I don't like gay people or trans people or bi or, different sexuality to me, right? And that's completely untrue. I mean, it's a complete falsehood. The issue I have with the whole agenda, and it is an agenda, is the agenda itself and the need to push the agenda on the average person because, the whole love is love brigade, cool, we're going to address that in a minute, cool, but, we all think differently. And this is where the idea for this video has come to today. And like I say, it is lots of different things that have come together to make me want to do this video. But what I saw over the weekend solidified how I was going to approach this. So, bear in mind that just been to a gay pride party. Had a wonderful time, by the way. Met some great people. Had a good time, had a good day out. And what I noticed, and what was very clear to me was, and it brought back memories from when I was younger, from when I was in school and through, my teenage years and into my 20s and my younger years, that I remember clearly how it was in school, and you had different cliques, which is much like we have in the world, okay? Different cliques that are interested in different things. You have, the popular kids. I wasn't one of them. You have the sporty kids. I was one of those. Very, very sporty. Football, or soccer as we call it in Australia. Swimming, very sporty when I was a kid. Champion boy, runner-up champion boy, athletics and swimming, and I was pretty good a long time ago. I've done triathlons and things when I was an adult, but when I was a kid, I was pretty sporty. So there was different cliques in school. And, the different cliques all had something in common. Maybe, there were emos and, all the different cliques of people. Now, much like the world, when you leave school, you have different communities of people that are gathered together, okay? So, I find myself in a few different communities. And I'm on the fringe of a lot of different communities. Obviously, very much part of the conspiracy, Great Awakening community. I try to contribute as much as I can. I listen to and interact with other people within the community who are doing podcasts much, much bigger than I am, and taking a lot of content from a lot of areas. Not just from the conspiracy community, or whatever we're calling this, the Great Awakening community, or the Q community, or, am I allowed to say that word? That letter of the alphabet? Still not allowed to say that, probably. That community, I'm in that community. Crypto, heavily into the crypto community. I've been, in the part of the XRP army since late 2017. And the crypto community in general. I talk about cryptos all the time, obviously. But, the point being is that I'm in a bunch of different communities that make me feel welcome most of the time. With the way that I am and the way I present the information I present, I tend to piss people off. Understandably, even though I'm involved in the community, I question what that community represents, okay? So when I'm questioning the LGBTQ plus IA, whatever we're calling them nowadays, the alphabet community there. When I question that, it's not the people in the community. I question the agenda that's being presented on behalf of the community. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Now, what I saw when I was at this event on the weekend was a bunch of people who would be considered outcasts of society, because society doesn't view them as part of the society that they view as normal. Okay? Okay? Now, when you have a different belief system, or a belief system, where your views differ from the majority, then sometimes you don't feel as welcome within the broader community as other people would. Okay? Does that make sense? I hope so. I hope I'm getting the point across here. So, what I saw was a bunch of people that were probably teased in school because they didn't fit in with the cliques in school, felt outside of the system, and felt alone and cut off from people, because maybe there wasn't people in their school that identified the same way that they did, so they felt alone and what's the word? Isolated. That's the word I'm looking for. Isolated. Now, the positive that I saw that came out of this event at the weekend was the community feel of people coming together who had the same mindset about how they approach their sexuality, right? Now, personally, I think it's a good thing that people belong to communities that welcome them in and encourage them to be themselves, and I think that broader society should take that on. I agree 100% that we should be accepting of how people want to live their life differently than others. Maybe it's sexually, maybe it's how they want to express themselves, how they dress, because there was a lot of guys there with beards and ladies' clothes. And, there was drag queens doing shows. And it was interesting because, I have, I've been drunk and wasted at parties before, and I've put on women's clothes. It's not a thing I've done often, I have to say, but I have done it before for a laugh. It wasn't because I felt like I needed to dress in women's clothes, or I felt like I fit in women's clothes. It was just one of those things that I did for a laugh. I do stupid shit. I've told you all that before. Now, it was good that there was a community feel to the event, and I'm happy that these people who are isolated in their everyday life have a community that they can fall back on to encourage them and to make them feel wanted. I think it's a good thing. Now, regardless of where you sit on the whole sexuality thing, what I'm going to say next is going to upset you. Okay, this is because I see the world the way that I see it, and it's very conspiratorial, and I see players within the sphere of all this political, geopolitical, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't even think the word. Words escape me. Well, the Nazis, okay, this is where it starts to take a little bit of a turn for the darker. The Nazis had an agenda where they wanted to sterilize people that they considered to be mentally deficient so that they couldn't breed. They wanted to sterilize those who they didn't see were worthwhile being part of society. Okay? All right? So that agenda for the Nazis was so that they could have the betterment of society through selective breeding. Okay? I'm serious about this. This is where it takes a real dark turn. Now, the popular thinking is the polite society believes that all died with the Nazis. That's completely untrue. Now, you have people like Bill Gates, Margaret Sanger, Margaret Sanger was the woman who set up the birth clinics, or the abortion clinics, if you will, in the United States. Planned Parenthood, they called them. And Margaret Sanger was a eugenicist, right? Eugenics, it's called. That was the word I was looking for. Eugenics, where you have selective breeding. So some people aren't allowed to breed. So people who are mentally deficient, they wanted to make sure that they were sterilized so they couldn't breed. Okay? And only the selected people could have children. Okay? Now, I hear you asking, what's that got to do with today, Chris? And what's that got to do with the Pride party that you were at the other day? I'm glad you asked. Now, what we've seen in the past few years especially, and I've been talking about it for a while now, and this is where people have a problem because they think I'm attacking the individual. And I'm not attacking the individual. I'm attacking the agenda and the idea and the concept of what's being presented in our face every single day through print media, through the Olympics, which we're going to get back to in just a second, and all these events where it's rainbow this, pride that, Pride month, we have a whole Pride month, but then they have all these events, outside of that Pride month, just to keep it going. It's all year round. You are bombarded with this message, and everyone's gay, trans, or bi, or whatever it is, Now, why? The question I keep asking myself is why somebody's sexuality is so important. It has to be displayed in public every day. I don't go talking about what I do in the bedroom out in the street. I don't wear outfits that I would wear in the bedroom, and I certainly don't expect my wife to wear outfits that she would wear in the bedroom out into the street to display her sexuality. But if people want to do that, cool. But bear in mind, if you do, society might not react the way that you want them to. So if you're going to go out in a dog kink outfit with your bare ass hanging out and arseless chaps, then be aware that society might not accept it. Now, back to the Nazis and the agenda that the Nazis had. Now, Margaret Sanger was a flaming racist, and when she set up Planned Parenthood, the Planned Parenthood's clinics, abortion clinics, were set up in predominantly black neighbourhoods because she believed that black people were a virus and needed to be wiped out. And starting with, aborting as many black babies as they possibly could to reduce or wipe out black people. Okay? That's not me saying it. That's Margaret Sanger. I didn't get a direct quote. I do apologise, but I'm sure if you took 5 minutes, maybe go to Yandex or DuckDuckGo or, a different browser or a different search engine than Google or something like that, You'll go and find Margaret Sanger quotes, and you'll see for yourself. Now, who was on the board at Planned Parenthood with Margaret Sanger? Bill Gates' father. I'm not joking. Eugenicist, who wanted to carry this program on. Now, Bill Gates has openly said, TED Talks, you can go and search this up as well, TED Talks where he says, we've got too many people in the world, we need to reduce the population, okay? Now, we can do that if we work really hard on new vaccines and blah, 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 blah. He said it. He said it. They're going to try and take it back and say, oh, well, he didn't mean it that way, but he said it, okay? He believes that he is better than you. All these globalist, billionaire, elitists believe that they're better than you and you're worthless because you don't have money. All right? Now, how do you reduce the filth, which is us, by the way? How do you reduce the filth without them knowing that you're reducing the filth, or without them knowing that you're involved in eugenics and selective breeding? How do you do that? Okay? So, when we're talking about new vaccines, mRNA, ding dong, jab, 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 line up. You don't need to know what's in it. Just put it inside you. Trust the science, right? Now, we've seen a severe downturn in Western nations of fertility in men and women. Now, why is that? Where the jab schedule for children has gone from, when I was a child, maybe 4 or 5, up to like 70 now. Gee, I don't know why the fertility rates have gone down. Now, we've come to a new situation. I heard Elon Musk talk about this the other day. Think whatever you like of Elon Musk. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Really doesn't. But what he said is poignant, and it leads directly into what I'm talking about. So he was talking about his child, Xavier, I think. And Xavier is his child that was a boy and is now a girl. Now, he explains it in an interview he did with Jordan Peterson. If you haven't seen the interview, I'd recommend go and have a look at it. And he says in the interview that he was told by the doctors that if he didn't give his son hormone blockers when he was a child, that his son would kill himself, and he would have lost his son. Now, he says in the interview, what I wasn't told, was never made clear to me, was that hormone blockers are sterilization medicines. They've sterilized him. So he said, essentially, my son is sterilized, he will never have children. And I've lost my son. Now, think whatever you want of this, what I'm saying to you, because this is one of those problems with polite society, remember, that people aren't willing to say what they think, or they're not willing to say things that go against the grain because they don't want to be outcast. Me, I don't give a shit. I've got nothing to lose. I don't care. And that's why I'm so happy that so many people come along for these walks and are at least willing to listen to what I have to say, even if they don't agree with me. I mean, Jesus, some of the things I say are crazy. I get it, right? But when you're dealing with a situation where you have people openly telling you that they want to reduce the population, that are openly involved in eugenics, who are deciding who gets to live and who gets to die, which is why there's a lot of vaccine programs that are tried out in India, Africa, across all the African nations, yeah, where they have in India, Bill Gates was involved in a polio vaccine trial, and all the children that got the polio vaccine got polio. Most of them died. Eugenics, okay? Now, this latest push for everything's trans or gay or, lesbian. How do you reduce the population? Well, those who are, how do I put this so it's polite? Okay. So those people who believe that they're born into the wrong body, okay? I've got friends who believe that. It's called gender dysphoria, okay? And it's a psychological condition where you don't accept the body that you're born into because you believe you're the opposite sex. I get it. I understand that you can't accept that reality that you were born into. I get it. Look, I look around me every day and I don't accept the reality I'm born into. This shit is crazy. Crazy, right? But these people who say that they're born into the wrong body, there's, like I said at the beginning, when you go through high school and you're going through this time of teasing and cliques in school, and kids get mean as shit because kids don't have a filter. They're going to say whatever they think, much like me, really. I've never grown up. I've got Peter Pan syndrome. So I'm crazy, obviously. So this ties back to the eugenics argument of sterilizing those who they believe to be mentally deficient. Okay, so if somebody presents with a psychological problem, a mental problem, saying that they don't know what sex they are or they believe they're the opposite sex, that would be considered to be a mentally deficient person by eugenicists. All right? You and I might accept them, but the people who are running these programs don't think the same way as you and I do. Right. So we've got a situation now where we are bombarded constantly with this idea of, the Olympics is a prime example. Okay. Now, there's not many people who have looked at what the Olympics did who don't see it, but there are people who do, who don't see it. They can't see it. They can't see what's right in front of their face because they don't want to, because it's part of being a polite society that you just like, oh, that's not what you think it is, Chris. That's not what you think it is. It's not. That's not satanic. That's not Satanism on open display at all. You know, that's the video that they did with the bunch of drag queens and obese, morbidly obese women. Women, I don't know. Maybe what is a woman? Right? Where they were mocking the Last Supper, Jesus and the 12 disciples, regardless of whether you have any kind of religious belief or not, or whether you're a Christian or a Catholic, or to mock someone's religion. I'm pretty sure that's against the law. Isn't there laws for that? Where the freedom of speech, or saying things against, you can't discriminate against someone's religion, sexuality. There's a whole list of things that's illegal for you to mock, right? But yet the Paris Olympics, they had the first drag queen torchbearer. Why? Oh, because it's about acceptance, Chris. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Okay. Sure. But why? But why? Because, we have to celebrate somebody's sexuality to make it diverse and inclusive. We can't celebrate the Olympics as being sports, which is what it's supposed to be about. But no, we have to celebrate someone's sexuality because it's more inclusive. It's not enough just to celebrate the sport and the achievement that these people have put in to go and train themselves every day, push themselves beyond all limits to go and compete against the world's best, to find out just how much it takes to be a world champion. That's not enough anymore. Now we've got to have dudes with a beard putting on makeup like a woman bearing the torch. Am I the only one that sees a problem with that? Am I the only one that sees a problem with depicting the Last Supper and mocking it as being a problem? I don't think I am. And there was lots more, the pale white horse, the apocalypse, the horse of the apocalypse. That's not what it was, Chris. That's Joan of Arc on that horse. I'm like, okay. So what were the wings then? What was the wings on the horse then? Now, where does this, because I can already hear people saying, but what has that got to do with polite society, Chris? Okay, I'm glad you asked. So, obviously, I am on social media, Facebook, Instagram. I don't touch TikTok. I'm not interested. I'm not interested. I won't ever be on TikTok. I'm sorry. People send me TikTok videos all the time. I am bombarded with information constantly because of the communities that I'm in. Constantly bombarded with information from all different a broad spectrum of information. It's not just crypto, it's not just conspiracy, it's not just mainstream, it's everything. I'm bombarded with information. It's wonderful. And it shows that people care about me, that they're sending me things and saying, what do you think? Because people value my opinion for some reason. I don't know why, because clearly people tell me all the time, you're crazy, Chris. You know what you're talking about. You're not an epidemiologist. You didn't even finish high school, Chris. Love it. Love it. Now, the problem we face is, as a society, people don't want to be on the fringe of society. They want to be accepted by society. So there's certain rules that they obey to make sure that they're not on the outskirts. During the whole COVID scam, people would call me up and say, look, Chris, I agree with you, but I can't say anything because I have a business. And, I can't associate myself with going against this agenda because my business would suffer. Or I have friends that completely disagree with you. So if I was to agree with you, that would mean I would be siding with you and I'll be against them, and I can't have that because they're my friends. You understand? Now, I've got people who will never talk to me again because of what I've been doing with these videos, because of their perception of what they think that I'm saying rather than what I'm actually saying. And that's cool. I get it. But polite society dictates, and who dictates? Who makes the rules for polite society? Who decides what is the right thing to think, the wrong thing and the right thing? Who gets to decide that? Now, we've talked about this lots and lots and lots. Social engineers who are engineering our society to a society that will be controllable and malleable and just believe what they're told. There are a group of people, quite a big group of people, and there's lots of people involved. The media forms part of it. The military forms part of it, believe it or not. The intelligence agencies. Intelligence. Okay. The personalities, TV and sport, movie personalities, generally people who are in the media sphere are there to make sure that the agenda is set. Okay? Now, when we see this, the nonsense that was presented in the Olympics, they deleted the official opening ceremony highlights. They deleted the video off YouTube because there was so much backlash for it. But yet still, people were on Facebook and Instagram defending what they were doing. Oh, yes. Well, the Last Supper, who cares? Who cares? That's a stupid Christian thing, or it's a religious thing. Doesn't mean anything. Well, okay, so why didn't they mock Islam? Because they knew if they mocked Islam, there would be a much bigger, there wouldn't just be a pushback, right? Why didn't they mock Judaism? Why not mock the Jews? Why not mock their celebrations? Why not do that? I think we know why. Because that's anti-Semitic. And if you say anything anti-Semitic, well, sorry, you lose your privilege to life, or your privilege to freedom, because anti-Semitism, that's the end of the world. It really is. You can't say anything against Jewish people, because if you do, well, that's it. You're a Nazi. Okay. Now, polite society dictates a whole plethora, is a nice word, isn't it? Plethora of rules that you have to live by in order to live in that society. Otherwise, you'll be cast out. Much like a lot of the people that I saw at the weekend at this bride party. People who don't fit into the nice little bubble that is portrayed as being polite society. Now, polite society will tell you, well, you're shunned if you say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing, or if you act a certain way, if you dress a certain way or don't dress a certain way. Tattoos on your face. It's being more and more accepted, I know, but polite society dictates that that's not polite. You're not actually part of society if you do that. Now, the agendas that are being presented to us on a daily basis, where it's rather than meritocracy, where you get a position for merit, position in universities, a job, position in government, there are actually rankings that are in place for businesses and companies that they have a diverse employee workforce, okay? DEI, it's called, and it's funded by massive corporations like BlackRock, believe it or not, and government programs and all this kind of stuff. Now, what they do is they set limits and they say you have to have so many black people on your staff, so many gay and lesbian, trans. There's certain limits. I mean, why do we do that? Why do we do that? Oh, because we want to create equal opportunities for everyone. If it isn't an equal opportunity, giving the best person for the job, regardless of their skin colour, what colour, whether they've got a lesbian vagina or not, isn't it more worthwhile to that business, to that company, to employ somebody who is the best for that position, regardless of their practices that they do in the bedroom? Surely, right? But polite society would not say anything to that, because it's like, well, of course we want people who are, gays and lesbians to have opportunities as well. But what? Sure, yeah, of course. But an opportunity over someone more qualified for the position? Oh, well, you see, Chris, you don't understand. We have to give university places to people who are of underprivileged. Great. If they're smart enough to get into university, then there should be programs to fund their way through the university, right? Completely different than giving someone an opportunity purely by skin colour or their sexuality. But polite society would tell you, no, you don't understand, Chris. It has to be this way. This is the best way to operate it, because they're told that. These social engineers who are engineering our society to a more docile, more placid, don't question science society, right? Now, the bigger issue that I see as part of this whole polite society is that those who don't fit into the mold of what's being set out as being that societal perfection, that eugenics program, there's blonde hair, blue eyed, and that kind of thing. Those who don't fit in there, they are outcasts who have to form their communities outside of that society, okay? So if you are conspiratorial, then I'm sorry, but you're an outcast and you don't fit into that, and, well, you just have to deal with it, right? Now, I've been very, very fortunate in my life. I am very fortunate. I know how fortunate I am. I am exceedingly fortunate. I'm surrounded by people who love me. I am just have wonderful friends, wonderful family. I've got my wife who is, she knows all the stupidity I've done in my life, who accepts and loves me. A lot of people never have that, But I haven't always had that. I haven't always had that. There's times where I've been alone, I've been lonely, I've been isolated and wished or hoped or prayed for that feeling of love and acceptance, as we all do, regardless of who you are, your sexuality, your colour of your skin, all that kind of jazz. All we want as people is love and acceptance. But there are some people that will never have it. Never. Now, I was toying with calling this video, You'll Never Walk Alone, right? Even though I am clearly walking alone in a forest that's empty of people. Completely devoid of people today. It's wonderful. I get to sit in here, listen to some birds sing, walk around and speak my mind and talk to people who are watching this incredible, this me walking along. Incredibly, I can't believe how many people join me, and I'm ever thankful that people do, and that feed back with their thoughts as well on what I'm saying, because hell, I don't get it all right. I'm out here giving you my thoughts. Whether it's right or not, well, that's up to you to decide. And maybe the future will prove the past. For those of you who knows what that means. So, what I want to leave you with today is something that might upset a few people, and that's cool, because, hey, if I haven't upset you till now, I can always start now, right? Now, when I was thinking about titling this video, You'll Never Walk Alone. Now, in those times of despair and anguish and, loneliness and isolation that I've had, I used to work in the mining camps in Australia, which is basically a prison camp in the middle of nowhere. It's easy to feel incredibly isolated out there because you're alone a lot of the time, So when I had those periods, I've mentioned before, I went to a Catholic school when I was young. I rebelled against it, of course. I grew up most of my life believing that I was an atheist, that there was no such thing as God, and this was all what we live and we die, and that's the end of it, right? Because that's the way that teenagers and young people think. It's like, I'm going to live forever. I came out of my mother and my father, and there's no miracle, and this thing here is all just a product of the Big Bang, stars colliding, and blah 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 blah. Right? It wasn't created. That was what I believed. But as I went through my life and I started to question, read philosophy books, and this is what these videos are, by the way. It's philosophy. I'm philosophizing. I'm out here questioning the nature of reality. Who am I? What's real? How do I know it's real? What's my place in it? Why am I here? All that kind of thing. That's what philosophy is, right? So I read some philosophy books because I was writing a movie, and I wanted to integrate philosophy into the movie, much like TheMatrix. TheMatrix is philosophy for the masses. Okay? So when I started to question things, and I started to really question who I was and what I'm here for, and, looking around me at the nature of reality and what we're presented with, it made me realize that there is a creative element, created element to this entire reality that we are presented with, okay? It's created. This is created for us to experience what we're experiencing, but it's been hijacked by lunatics, psychopaths and sociopaths who know, they don't believe it, they know it, and they know that because they don't realize it, they never question it, they know how to manipulate us. So knowing that there is a creative element to this, knowing that there's a creator, whether you call it God or Brahma or Buddha or whatever you want to call the creative force that's created this place, this reality, if that's what we're calling it, this illusion, this, whatever we're calling this reality that we're living in, is there. We're part of it. It's part of us. Everything here is all part of the same thing. We are the creative element in human form. Okay? Now, if you've been created, we're living in a universal consciousness that's created reality from consciousness. We are part of that creative element. We are feeding back our experience to this universal consciousness, which is why the universe is always growing, right? Consciousness is always growing because our experience feeds back to that consciousness. Are we ever truly alone? And if we're not truly alone, and we have our private thoughts and we talk to ourselves, are we really talking to ourselves, or are we talking to this creative force that has created this reality for us? Now, unless you hear voices in your head, I do. It's not like as crazy as it sounds, believe it or not. It's pretty crazy, but it's I do hear instructional voices that point me in a certain direction. Okay, it's hard to describe. It's really weird, but I have that. Not everyone does, but what I do have, what I do notice, and I try and point this out to people all the time, is this reality that we're living in is constantly, it's like a feedback loop, and it is guiding you. So if you ask this consciousness, this God, or whatever word makes you comfortable, to guide you on this journey that you're taking through this reality, then you're not going to hear a voice in your head. Most people won't. You're not going to see a street sign that says, go this way. But there are going to be things that happen and situations that present to you that are there to guide you. Now, it could be you've come across this video for the first time, like Robert. He came across one of my videos one day. Hi, Robert. Long time no see, my good man. But he came across one of my videos one day and he was just like, wow, that's exactly what I needed to hear. And sometimes that's what it is, and this is the thing that people tend to overlook, the coincidences that happen that help guide them on the journey. Now, for me, it all changed when I was in a job. I was in a job for 4.5 years. I was working for a place called Sticky Fingers in Kensington in London. Bill Wyman from the Rolling Stones was his place. Same guy who married a 13-year-old. Okay, that guy. I was working there for 4.5 years. I was disgruntled when I left, and I called my wife and just said, I'm quitting my job. I can't do it anymore. I don't want to do it. So she was like, I trust you. She said, have you got another job? And I said, nope. She said, okay, I trust you to whatever's going to happen, right? Now, at that point, I had to, because, I've spent my whole life controlling things. As a chef, you have to control things. You control the kitchen, you control your workforce, blah, blah, blah. My whole life is I thought I was in control of everything. And things didn't work out the way that I wanted to quite often because I thought that I was in control. Okay? How many people are recognizing this in themselves? I thought I was in control of everything. I'm the king of the world. I don't need anything. Certainly don't need some God presence or, universal consciousness to guide me because I know everything, right? So it was at that point that I said out loud, I trust that you will guide me in the direction I need to go. And I gave up the reins of my life to this universal consciousness to guide me on the journey for what I was supposed to do next. And what I tasked myself with was looking for those signs, those coincidences, and signs that were there to guide me on the journey of the directions I should go. So it has been an incredible journey so far. I mean, the things I've done in my life, I can't believe. I really can't. I've had an incredible life. I've been incredibly fortunate. The most amazing experiences. I've traveled far and wide and met some amazing people and done amazing things because I gave up what I thought was my control over my journey in this reality, And there's a line that keeps on coming back to me from TheMatrix. And Morpheus says to Neo, do you believe in fate, Neo? And he says, no. And he says, why not? And he says, I don't like to think that I'm not in control of my own life. And Morpheus says, I know exactly what you mean. Now, the way that I try to look at it, thinking I'm not in control of my life, I'm holding on to the reins and I'm going to guide it and I'm going to be the one and I'm me. And that's my wife and I have had many discussions about this, the ego, the me self this residual self-image that we hold in our mind of who we are and what we are, and if you ask somebody who they are, they'll usually tell you, I'm a doctor, or I'm a chef, or whatever they do for a job is their association. But when you ask people in the community I was in at the weekend, I'm gay, or I'm lesbian, or I'm bi, or I'm trans, or whatever it is. It's this association with the self in the reality that we're presented in, we're living in, okay? But we have to look beyond what we see in the mirror and recognize that we are much bigger than who we present in the mirror. It's the meat suit that we get to drive around in while we're here in this plane of existence, right? So whenever I'm feeling isolated, whenever I'm feeling alone or upset or just generally out of sorts, I turn my attention back to thinking, I'm not alone here. I'm being guided on the journey. And I have to constantly remind myself of that so that I don't get bogged down in the bullshit that's presented as you have to think a certain way, you have to do a certain thing, you have to be someone that you don't want to be or someone that you're not in order to fit into a society that's not governed by me or you, but governed by social engineers that are trying to get us to groupthink in a certain way that benefits them and their expectation of the power source that runs the society in the first place that they want to control. I don't want to sign up to that. I came here to have my own experience and not be told who I can be. And that, what I always fall back on, is that I'm not alone. And I'll never walk alone. And you will never walk alone either. If you have the faith that things will turn out the way that is right for you to turn out. Does that make sense? So, the heaven and hell idea. Right, so if you're a drug addict that's hopelessly addicted to drugs, surrounded by people that don't give a shit about you, claim to, but don't give a shit about you, or an alcoholic that binge drinks every single day just to drown out the sorrows of not having the person that you love in your life, or whatever it is, whatever you're running away from when you're doing drugs or alcohol, trust me, I know all about it. All about it, okay? Been there, seen it, done it, got the t-shirt. Not that I'm wearing it today, but got the t-shirt. Still have it. There's people that have forgotten their connection to something bigger than themselves. So the first thing that the people do when they go through AA or Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, is that they're told you have to give up control and know that you can't do this alone. Now, if we integrated that in our everyday life and realize I'm not alone, I don't have to do this alone. I can call on guidance. I can call on this universal consciousness to say, hey, guide me. I'm lost here. I don't know what I should be doing. I don't know how to think. I don't know what to do. I don't know, what direction I should turn. And trust and have faith that the answer will be presented to you in such a way that if you're open to it, you'll recognize. So, the problem with polite society is that polite society doesn't want you to think because it's been programmed not to. And to think that you are part of something much bigger, that this reality has been created for you. Instead, polite society would rather you think that you're nothing in the whole scheme of things, in the whole universe. Like, look how many planets there are and the vast empty space in between those planets. You're a little insignificant dot in the middle of nowhere that just spawned out of, a lucky happenstance. And that's how they would make you think, to make you believe that you're worthless. And you're not. So, all that said, go out into the world, do good, be good, and you can change the world with the way that you think, the way that you act, the information that you're taking in, and what you're sharing with other people. So do that, and we can make the world a better place. But most important, look after yourself, look after each other, and have faith, because that will guide you where you want to go. Thanks everyone for joining me today. Love you all, and keep on keeping on. Look after yourself, because that's the key. If you're not looking after yourself, no one else will. All right, love you all. Thanks so much for joining me. Look forward to seeing you soon. Ciao for now.